Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. So I'm a psychologist working in college counseling. My job is to provide mental health service to students struggling with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, eating disorder, suicide thoughts, alcohol, drug use, all the mental health issues that you can think of, we work with. A lot of those kids we work with also struggle with underlying issues that further contribute to those mental health issues we're working with. And one of those issues is trauma. Trauma that results from being bullied at school prior to them coming to college. And the impact of the bullying, has been very negative on their self-esteem and their emotional coping regulation and their interpersonal relationship. And so here's why we're here talking about how we can do together as a community and to stop this behavior and help you kids and to manage issues like this if they happen to be going through this. So what is bullying? You probably are wondering, how do I know if my kids are being bullied? So we know probably right now going through in your mind, you're thinking of, okay, some of the physical violence my kids experience at school, like being hit by others, or coming home with injuries, scratch on the face, red mark on the neck, all of that, right? Those are physical bully that we know we are familiar with. And also teasing, name calling, and those are very common among high school students, middle school students, and elementary students as well. And another line of that is social abuse, isolating a student. I don't want to play with you. Leave us alone. And ask someone now to play with the student, now be friends with the student. So make them feel alienated, make them feel alone. And another one that's getting more and more popular nowadays with social media's development is cyberbullying, right? Text message and Facebook, Instagram, all of that. So bullying doesn't really just only happen at school now. It happened at home. Right? If your kids open up the text message or social media and find that there's a message about them that people made it up and being spread out, and imagine how they would feel. So there are a lot of things that can be related to this bullying behaviors that your kids may be experiencing at school. So some facts about bullying. The first one is between 1 in 4 and 1 in 3 U.S. students say they have been bullied at school. So that's how common it is. Most bullying happens in middle school. The most common types are verbal and social bullying. Bullying often involves groups of students who support each other in bullying other students. So it's very common to see this happens between groups or multiple students, and rarely it's one-on-one. Young people who are perceived as different from others are often at risk of being bullied. And what does this mean? If your kids are shorter, smaller, or speaking with an accent, or wearing glasses, braces, or like to be alone, spending time by themselves. All of this, if they are different in the way they look, the way they behave, they're likely being picked up. So those are from this website. If you are interested, you can look it up. It's called stopbullying.org. It's a government-funded website and to stop bullying behavior. So how do I know if my kids are being bullied at school? So here are some strategies that we can start with. Listen. Listen carefully to what your kids are telling you at school. Okay. Ask questions. When to ask questions? Watch for signs. There are physical signs, behavior signs, right? And emotional change related. So let's say one example related to the physical part is that if they come back with marks on the face, or they have lost the stuff, like lost their books, their electronics, or clothes, some of those things that seem to be odd or unexplainable injuries. And what do they mean? You want to ask. And behavior change, for example, if they start to coming back to home feeling hungry, I want a dinner, I'm so hungry, it could be a sign that your kids are avoiding lunch because they're worried about the social environment. So they come back without having lunch. And also, stop going to school or lack of interest going to school. All of a sudden, I don't feel like going. And there's no reason, and you don't know why. Their grades start to suffer, and you don't know why. And, okay, so all of that. And emotional change, self-esteem start to suffer, right? If they start to have self-harming behaviors, they start to lock themselves in a room. So, here are some myths about the bullying. If we ignore the bully, she will eventually stop. No, that behavior will continue. If my kid reports, she or he will get into more trouble. No, if you don't report, they will get into more trouble. My kids need to fight back to get even. Physical fight is never the solution to problem. They may get into trouble, get injured, or get into trouble with the school if they do that. My kids get picked on because there's something wrong about him or her. Like we said, it's nothing wrong about your kids, it's difference. They may appear to be different or behave different, but difference doesn't necessarily imply they have problem. Bullying often only happens at school. Like I mentioned, it can happen at home with the social media nowadays. People who get bullied will eventually get over it. Like I mentioned, a lot of college students we work with suffer from that underlying chronic trauma and never get over with it. So how to stop bullying? Teach your kids to know what is bullying behaviors. Assure and support. Don't blame them or dismiss it. Ask your kid, walk away from the situation as quickly as possible if they are in real danger. Empower your kids to tell adults who they can trust. This can be hard for some kids because they feel like being bullied is a sign of weakness. In order to regain control, they may want to handle this by themselves instead of telling the adults. So this is the part that you need to support them and make them feel comfortable and safe to do it. Don't tell your kids to physically fight back or ignore the bully. Ask your kids to buddy up with others. A bully usually picks on kids who are alone. So if your kids have friends being with and who can call out those behaviors, that will be much more safe and supportive environment for your kids. Teach your kids how to assert themselves. Collaborate with school officials to intervene. It may not be a good idea to call the bully's parents. And you may have things get backfired. As parents, we all want to get involved. So talking to school officials to collaborate with them would be probably more reasonable. So that's a presentation touch on some of the simple, basic issues that we talk about bullying. And next part is our panel, and we can go more in-depth discussion if you have any question. Okay, thank you.